Welcome to Survivor Voices Show with me, your hostess, Vennie Kocsis. I am the author of Cult Child and other publications, which you can explore on my website, VennieKocsis.com. That is VennieKocsis.com. Survivor Voices Show is dedicated to providing a platform for trauma survivors to tell our stories in a safe space. Each show will bring you a plethora of topics from authors to artists, survivors living with impairments, healing journeys, updated news, and real, raw, vulnerable moments of laughter and sometimes tears. Find me on Twitter using hashtag Survivor Voices. Connect with me on Facebook at Survivor Voices Show page. Join our Facebook group, Survivor Voices, where you will find support and be embraced as you share your life. Thank you for being here. And now, here is our show.
So one of the best things about me getting along with so many people is I was able to just tell people what was going on with me. And it let me couch surf and hang out and spend the nights. And next thing you know, I just bounced around. Finally, started doing poetry, more to survive.
What year is this and where are you? You're in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, and this is between 2000 to 2004. No, maybe like 2001 to 2004.
Dude, we were in New Orleans at the same time. I lived in Slidell for about a year. In 2000, it was either 2002 or 2003. I think 2002. Yeah, that's crazy.
That is.
We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, okay, so what part of New Orleans are you floating around in? The Ninth Ward rough part? Or?
No. Uptown can get rough too. But I was uptown around the Garden District. I was bounced back between maybe Canal Street, French Quarter, all the way uptown. Close to the river, pretty much. I didn't go toward the lake, but all around that area. Poetry spots, open mics, everything. And
yep, got you.
It was easy for me. Oh, let me stop. I don't know how I say it easy. The easiest thing for me to do was just talk to people. I grew up my whole life selling stuff to people who weren't interested in buying it, nor were they expecting it. So just using my gift of gab, I managed to survive for a long time off of my wits and my poetry. And I started going to open mics and performing. But a lot of these people who were at the open mics, this was their hobby. So my performance style was different. So just like the entire time growing up, my focus was seeing my dad again. Now I had to switch my focus to I need to eat. So there was nothing that you were going to tell me. There was nothing you were going to say that was going to stop me from getting my food.
What had happened to that thought about your father? Where was that sitting in your mind? Okay, so right now it's kind of like in this amnesia spot in your head.
Yeah, because for the first time, I'm really, like, as a witness, I'm in the world. I'm in Satan's world. I am not supposed to be here. And don't trust anybody. You know, everything you've ever been told about the world. These are agents of Satan. Any of them can be possessed by Satan. Don't believe them. They don't have my best interest at heart. Even when they say they're my friend, they really my associate. And they pagan, they heathens, everything bad.
So you're just in survival mode, basically.
I am in total survival mode for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I ended up dating somebody. Oh, I thought my wife and I were divorced. She worked for the courts. And I was bouncing around. I don't know why, like looking back logically now, I don't know why I really thought that. But I know that for a while I really thought that, and I lived like I was divorced. I started dating other people. It was crazy.
Mm.
So this one girl I dated, her name was Treese. Treese was one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Still to this day, probably top three, easy, nicest people I ever met. And it was then I lived with her for a couple months. No, I'm sorry, I lived with her for over a year. And that's where I was. I was with her when my uncle told me about the Dateline thing. So I wasn't even with somebody who knew all this stuff about the witnesses. Like to her, she just saw a crazy story that's messed up. But then I'm like, no, it goes way deeper than that. Blah 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 blah. So Teresa and I didn't stay together. We ended up splitting up. But it was at that same time that I ended up spending the day with my wife and my daughters.
Mm.
And that's when I found out we weren't divorced.
Wow.
Yep. Family outing that I thought was, I was calling her my ex. I'm thinking we did all of this crazy stuff and just hanging out with the kids. And I was like, I thought we were divorced. And she's like, what do you mean you thought we were divorced? Do you remember going to court? Do you remember lawyers being involved? And I'm like, no, I thought you took care of all of that. And this was one of those things that a lot of people just hearing me say that would be like, oh my God, this guy sounds so stupid. No, I'm not stupid. I grew up focused on my dad coming back from the dead.
Right.
And then the next thing I know, I'm focusing on surviving. So I do know a lot of stuff. I've picked up a few things along the way, but my reasoning skills came from the cult. It was black or white, binary, one or zero.
Yes.
Either you're a witness or you're not. You're a witness or you're worldly. Either you going through the narrow gate or the large gate, or the large path, large walkway, and you either going to destruction or salvation. So, yeah, my wife worked at the court. I thought we was divorced. Once I thought we was divorced, I didn't keep thinking about it. We weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
So, ended up, by this time, I'm a whole different person. I'm Karama Sadaka, super poet. I've been surviving. I've been touring. I've learned how to make a living on this thing. I got long locks. I'm all over the place. So now, to get back with my wife and get back with my kids, I have to cut my locks, stop performing poetry, and come back to the Kingdom Hall.
Wow. Damn, dude, damn.
I had become the person I thought I was always meant to be. I had become a damn poetry phenom. And that is with all humility. That's me telling you, I worked at my craft. It was natural skill was part of it. But I'm telling you, when I had the motivation and the focus to do something, that's all that exists to me. And it came from what I just said, focusing on seeing my dad again,
right.
Believing that this world was.
So now that thought reemerges for you.
Yep.
Do you think that, I mean, it's funny how those triggers work, right? You went to survival mode, so you had to put aside a systematic thought in your mind in order to be able to adapt to the survival mode.
Yep.
And then you had to flip back. Again, here we are with a big mind fuck.
Yep. The only way I was going to see my kids again and be a part of my daughter's lives, for real, was to come back to the hall. Mm-hmm. Was to go back into the mode of nothing outside the hall exists, or not that it doesn't exist, but I'm not part of that. So now I'm going to be going around in field service again like I was my whole life, and somebody's going to recognize me from a poetry spot. And they're not going to believe it. They're going to hear me speaking in a very soft tone and humble about the scriptures and things, not the poet that they met in the slam.
Okay, give me an example. Like, you've just knocked on my door. You're an adult. I answer the door. Tell me what you say to me.
Hi, Vennie. This is Karama with the local Bible students, and we're talking to our friends and neighbors today. Like to share this magazine with you.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. I'm an atheist.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. Atheists get robbed too. This article is about crime. I wasn't trying to convert you. I just wanted to leave this with you, and hopefully this magazine about current events is something that we'll have a chance to talk about later.
Well, I don't know any atheists who've been robbed, sir. Where do you get your statistics from?
I don't really have any statistics, but I guarantee you don't want to be the first atheist you know to get robbed. So why don't you just take this magazine, take this L, and we'll have a good day, and we can talk some.
So when you get resistance, you just drop the magazine and move on.
Oh, that was resistance?
Is that, well, how would you have looked at that? The way that I just, like, had I kept on? Like, okay, so you have no statistics, so how then can you print something for which you have no fact for? What's your argument?
I'm not the one who printed it. Okay, Vennie, here's what's happening. I'm too cool to have that kind of confrontation. And that's my personality. I wasn't going to argue with you.
Okay.
So if you wanted to argue, like, hey.
So what would you have done? So now I say to you, well, sir, you know I'm a statistics person. I like factual information. Where did the person who made this pamphlet, where did they gather their statistics from that not being a Jehovah's Witness might get me robbed and killed?
Okay, there's two ways I would answer that. You got to remember, I've been gone a very long time. The way I would have handled that then was to tell you that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, if you want to contact them and find out where they got their stats from, take this magazine.
Good one. Way to deflect.
I would tell you.
Brilliant.
www.org. I'm telling you, there was Vennie. We had a book that in this book there was a thing called potential conversation stoppers. We were prepared. Yes, baby. We were not playing. When we came to talk to you, we knew more of your objections than anything else. I was prepared for anything. Me just doing that just now is second nature. That's not even an objection. An objection is somebody like really getting loud. Somebody slamming the door in our face. Somebody sicking dogs on us. That was a damn objection. What you said was words.
What would you consider that as a Jehovah's Witness? Just someone who just, was confused and ignorant and just didn't know.
Yeah, you were a potential. Yeah. And if you, look, to be honest with you, the longer you talk to me, the more you were signing yourself up to get visited again.
Got you.
So anybody listening, if you don't want to talk to the witnesses, stop trying to be polite. Because anytime, anything you say besides no is giving me the opportunity to come up with a way to get around what you're saying. And believe me, we were trained to do this. That is what I was, like, let's rewind for a second. Remember I told you when I was 7, I could talk you out of your Bible. What you think I was like at 25?
Right.
Yeah, like this, we were trained and expected to know it. And I'm just telling you, like, I excelled at the debate part. Like, I didn't get to do this in school. So where I got to do verbal sparring and fencing was field service. But we weren't going out there to argue with people. But every now and then, and again, it's New Orleans, and the public education system there is not the greatest in the world. So a lot of these arguments weren't the most logical, analytical, articulate things. It was just, well, baby, Jesus is Lord, and I'm going to be Baptist all my life and all my days. My mama was a Baptist, my grandmama was a Baptist, and I'll be Baptist too. Praise the Lord, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm too...
You're just going to write that house off that, okay, just not a potential, moving on to the next.
Yeah, like people don't... Okay, let me break this down for you. It's hot. I have on a full suit and a necktie, and I'm carrying a bag. I don't want to be standing here arguing with you no more than you want to be disturbed. It's New Orleans, man. It's 90 degrees in short sleeves. I remind you, I have on a suit.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come to your house, what I really want to say to you as a witness is, here, take this, read it. Can I come back and talk to you later? Good? Okay. If not, holler. On to the next one. That's really what I wanted to say all the time, but I had to give you the whole.
Right, right. I wanted to ask you a quick question. There's a trend that I've noticed because I get, Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses a lot in my neighborhood, is the use, and it seems like more and more, and it reminds me of how David Berg used flirty fishing of young girls, 18, 19, very pretty, that come in pairs. Where it used to be, the older ladies. It seems like it's switched more into a millennial kind of mindset of using them. Have you seen that morphing, and were you a part of that morphing?
No, I wasn't part of that morphing because once I was gone, I was gone. I have a younger brother. My youngest brother, Edward, he's still in it. He's a millennial, and I guess it's symptomatic of just the switch in culture and generational thing with the millennials. The things that make millennials different than regular society is the same thing that make witness millennials different than regular witnesses. Like, they grew up with the internet. Like, my brother doesn't have a clue how crazy it is to me that the witnesses have their own website because of how much they told us the internet was the devil.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, so now y'all have the only blessed site on the internet? Really? Really? Y'all have, like, God, y'all think God has something to do with your website? For real?
If only God had built it.
Let them tell it he did.
I know, right?
Yeah, like, man, and now, of course, being so far out is just crazy. Wait a minute. Vennie, I jumped so off track. I never told you what got me to wake up.
Yes, let's get back to New Orleans, and now you're having to cut your hair and go back into that conformity in order to be with your family.
Yes. And so now I literally have been gone for about 3 years. And I come back. Now, this was crazy. When my wife and I split up, she was pregnant. So I come back to a toddler. I had seen my daughter. I was always with her. But when we got back to the hall as a family, this is an entirely different me that they know. I look like I used to. I look like a grown version of Karama. But what's coming back is basically me putting this witness mask on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just crazy, man. I feel completely phony. At no time in my life had I not been a witness.
Right.
So for these last 3 years, just being who I actually am, learning what I like versus what I was told to like, knowing what I would actually do in a pressure pack situation, knowing that field service now is easy to me. I haven't been in field service in almost 20 years, and I'm still able to tell you my field service presentation. It's deep. It's in there. So I'm like, okay, I'll just do this and figure it out. And I started doing it. And all of my self-esteem, any dream, any kind of spark was just gone.
Yeah.
So finally, one day, I'm on my way to the Kingdom Hall, and I run into my uncle. Same uncle, my whole life. He says, "Hey, man, I wanted to talk to you. What you doing?" I said, "I'm going to the Kingdom Hall." He said, "Okay, I'll walk with you." We start walking. He says, I really, do you remember I told you about the Dateline thing with those witnesses back in the day?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. He says, "Okay."
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
No, see?
You're talking to your uncle. Yes, okay.
Yes, but that's how powerful the question was that it made you answer. So you see, that's how it works. So let's just continue. Uncle says,
I adore you.
I'll let you catch up, Vennie. I'm going to take a sip of water while you catch up.
I just love talking to you so much.
We are here. Okay, make sure you don't edit this part. Leave this part in. I want them to know how the weird segues. That's just me. So, my uncle says to me, Karama, if Kayla, my oldest daughter, the love of my life, if Kayla was in a car accident and needed a blood transfusion, would you be willing to let her die? Now, Vennie, so far, everything I've told you has led up to this moment. Because as a witness, I am programmed to say, yes, we will see her in the new world. We must obey God as ruler rather than men, and we must abstain from blood. But my uncle, instead of it just being a regular hypothetical, said my daughter's name and asked me if I was willing to let her die. And I responded, hell no. And in that moment was the crack that he needed to get in and say, son, you can hear me. Wake up. You in a cult.
Wow. And that was a really smart way for him to put it. Because he could have said, wouldn't you want your daughter to live? Which doesn't have the same impact as, would you let your child die?
Not just would you let your child die. Kayla.
Yeah.
He
personalized it.
Yes. Like, put yourself in a position where you're responsible for her dying. Would that be you? No. Hell no. And for the first time in my life, I snapped out of the witness thought. Because even when I was disfellowshipped and being around worldly people, my thought process was still a witness. So if I still had guilt. If I wanted to smoke, if I wanted to drink, do whatever I wanted to do, I still had guilt.
Yeah.
Now, how I dealt with it was different.
Right.
But I still had it. It was still there. It never left. So for the first time ever in my mind, I chose something besides what I was programmed to do. My uncle told me I was in a cult. Now, I would love to tell you the story and say, like, so that's when I woke up and it was happily ever after. You know?
Right, yeah. And life was great ever since.
So, this moment this was a Sunday afternoon. I'm on my way to the Kingdom Hall. As he says this to me, I said hell no, but I immediately shrunk back down and got right back into it. He told me I was in a cult. And I said, no, this is not a cult. This is God's true organization. Where the 7 members of the governing body are feeding us the proper spiritual food at the proper spiritual time. And when 144,000 are almost all up in heaven, selected from all over the world from 1935 to the present, when they are all in heaven and a few remain on the earth, Armageddon is going to start. When Babylon the Great gets religion attacked by the United States and Europe government, the wild beasts and the king of the north, and all these dumbass prophecies that I'm remembering. I'm spouting off all this shit. My uncle is like, what? You're in a cult like Karama. You don't even hear how crazy you sound right now. And I'm like, no, we keep in pace with spiritual Israel. They feeding us the proper food at the proper time. He's like, what is this food you talking about? I'm going on and that's when I heard myself. And for the first time, stopped myself and decided, here's what I'm going to do once and for all. I am going to do my own research and be able to answer these questions. So, remember, me and my wife haven't been together for 3 years. When I come back to the house, my books are not in the same place. What happened to my old books? Well, they were at my mom's house. Called my mom, they're at my brother's house. I called my brother, he don't know where they at. So my wife says to me, you know, we have the information online now. And that's the biggest difference, Vennie. When I left, they weren't online. When I got back, and now I'm going to do research.
Mm-hmm.
Now I type into search engines, Jehovah's Witnesses.
You're seeing a whole lot of different stuff, right?
Woo! I got this one particular site that came back. It was called Sean's Research on Jehovah's Witnesses. Blew my mind. Now I'm telling you again, I thought they were all lying. Oh, this is an apostate site. I didn't know apostates had websites. So I'm just jumping around, but this website wasn't saying Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult.
Apostates.
Yeah, it was just like, hey, here are some things that, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses had written in saying that's odd. One of the first things was that Kingdom Halls didn't have windows. I was like, well, we don't have windows. So? All right. So we don't have windows like that, but our cars have seat belts. So, like, that's not gonna make me leave.
Right.
So then I read other stuff where it's like, okay, growing up, I never got to have birthday cake. You know, like me either. Big deal. Get over it. Then, well, this person died because of a blood transfusion. Oh, well, I'm sorry they died, but we'll see them in the. Wait a minute. I just said I wouldn't let my daughter die. So how is this? It started with little things like that. So, Vennie, I started reading on Sunday afternoon. I had just got back with my ex. I was not working, meaning I didn't leave the house for days. And I stayed awake and was on the computer. By Wednesday, I was well on my way to being a full-blown apostate.
Yay! Welcome to the non-group think.
Thank you. I said not. No, I would have had no self-respect. And of course, what's the first thing I attacked? Am I going to see my daddy again? Like, let's get this out the way. I don't want to hear about your Kingdom Hall don't have no windows.
Right.
I started finding out witnesses been telling people. I had told people that the world was supposed to end in 1975. I had heard that before, but it was always dismissed by people who was like, you know, still here, still with us. Oh, that's not true. But then I'm like, why would people say that? And for the first time, I realized what I was doing, using critical thinking on the witnesses.
Wow.
Asking just regular questions that, of course, if I asked another witness, I'd get in trouble. But just common sense. So now let me take you back to a story I told you earlier. You get your money, you buy the magazines, you go out in the ministry and the field service, you place the magazines with people, meaning they accept them after you knock on their doors. Now, that money is God's money. I bring that money back to the Kingdom Hall, I put it in the contribution box, the account servant takes that money, deposits it in a bank, sends the check to Bethel, which is in Brooklyn, New York. That's the world headquarters. Oh, that was the world headquarters. So now it's 100 of us, and we've been going out in the ministry, preaching and teaching and making disciples, and now it's 200 of us in a space built for 100 people. What do we need to do?
Yeah.
We need to build Kingdom Hall. Vennie, if you haven't heard anything I said all night, pay attention to this part. How do we get a Kingdom Hall? We tell Brooklyn Bethel, the world headquarters, that we need a Kingdom Hall, and they say, yes, we will give you a loan. Vennie, where's the money coming from for the loan?
Wow, what a circle. I mean, that structure, it just sounds like my cult. It's just my ex-cult, just the way the money goes in a circle. And it, like, right now, here's an example of what's happening right now with my ex-cult. One of the members of the community or the commune I was on, their cabin burned down. There's not a GoFundMe, but it's a similar like that, where they're asking for $50,000 to rebuild this cabin. Now, this cult owns a full-blown sawmill. In addition to that, they own Heritage Construction. So they have the money inside of their organization to easily rebuild this cabin. But here's how the wording is put by the children who made this fundraising account. My parents live in a village where home insurance isn't a thing. I left a comment and said, great use of linguistics to skew people's minds. You guys live on a cult, which is registered as a nonprofit. Therefore, you can't have assets to get insurance, or you're no longer a nonprofit. So let's keep the wording right. But that's what they do. They keep the money going in a circle, and then they loan it back to you, so now they're making more money.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Wait for it. Who is going to physically build the building?
Exactly.
The same ones who gave the free labor to go out and place these magazines in the first place. How did I know this? Because when I was a kid, we built the building over the weekend.
Yeah.
So
you have to take out a loan and then give free labor.
Yes, and pay back the loan with interest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, imagine I'm disfellowshipped already when I realize and read where the money goes. Because your average witness doesn't know this.
No.
Now,
and they can't deduct it because I don't know if that's the right word, but because there's no critical thinking there for them to be able to dissect what's going on with the money. They trust. It's all about getting them, to trust the leadership.
And what makes it so much more insidious is the reason you trust the leadership might be different. Now, I wanted to see my dad again. My brother, on the other hand, has never met my dad. So this was just life. I had reasons that he didn't have. Also, the two of us had reasons that other people didn't have. Other people had reasons we didn't have. My mother wanted to see her mother. Because think about it. Once my dad died, that's the end of their marriage. It's not like they're going to be a family again and be married to them. That's my family. But they're no longer family. But she wants to see her mother again.
Right. I know. It's so I mean, that's some crazy triangulation of the mind, right? That's crazy making.
Yep. So my wife, by that Wednesday, I started explaining to her, by Wednesday, I'm furious. Because in a matter of days, I realized my entire life has been a lie.
Wow.
I could have been finished with college by the time I was 18 or 19. And rolling. I wanted to be a lawyer. I'm like, you could have cut me loose on this legal system and I would have been great. Like all the stuff I wanted to do. Yeah. I could have been great with photography. I was a writer too. Blah, 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 blah. Nope. I'm in field service. So when I realized it, the way I got to realize it was because I did research, just like the witnesses taught me. And I was able, without using any apostate website, just prove it to myself. There was this big prophecy. The witnesses all believe. Let me see how to describe this. To qualify as Christian, you can have different denominations and different sects. But basically, all Christians have one thing in common. They believe that Jesus Christ died and rose from the dead.
Right.
Okay. When I was younger, every witness believed that the year 1914 had
Say that one more time.
That
You broke up
Jesus
just slightly. That it's the year 1914 what?
had incredible significance.
Okay.
It was told, and this is what we used to tell people, that in 1914 there was a war in heaven, and that Michael the Archangel, who really is Jesus Christ, whole another conversation. Michael the Archangel leads the armies of God against Satan and his vast army of demons.
Right.
I'm sorry, Michael. Story is, and they cast Satan and his demons down in the vicinity of the earth.
Right.
So that's why in 1914, all hell broke loose. How do we know all hell broke loose? Because that's when World War I started.
How interesting.
Now, when we telling people that, remember, this is the 80s. So was none of us around back then. But they knew somebody. Like it wasn't like everybody had heard of World War I, so it wasn't like people would argue with us. So you're telling them all of this, and okay, cool, this is what this means.
And you're brilliantly telling history that they're not thinking about. So they're like, wow, they're really informed and they have their facts straight.
And they sure do know that Bible.
Yeah.
Lord, that little boy fingers flip so fast through the pages. Did you see him? Just look at it, Brother Earl. Look at this little boy. What's your name is, Brother Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? That's your name. Ball player, boy. What that got to do? Ain't got nothing to do with the Lord. You're going to be a preacher. You're going to be a minister. Oh, yes.
Oh, my
Bless him.
Here's $20.
Yeah, take it. There you go, boy. So, I'm telling you, like, we didn't have paid clergy, because I'm telling you, I'd have been paid. And that's me just being real with you.
Yeah.
I did too many impressions. I just get up there and make up some voices and stuff. Just like, I had fun doing it. Me and my brother would have went all over the place. So,
how did your wife take your breaking open? How did she receive that?
I quote, Satan's got you.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I tried. I thought that if I just told her everything she ever knew was a lie, that she'd just get it and be like, okay, cool. Let's just not go there no more. So, yeah, that's not what happened. Not even close. She really, really, really seriously said, you need to leave. We can't. Keep in mind, we just got back together.
Oh, my goodness.
So to her, I've been out in the world infected by Satan, and I came back trying to come back, but my heart was hard, and it just never took hold again. And now I'm on the internet, in Satan's internet, after being in Satan's world. And now, since I can't be allowed to infect the children, I must go. To which I replied, you tripping. I ain't going nowhere. I just got back. To which she replied, well, the officer who's coming to get you out of my house.
Wow.
So I left, thinking we've been apart for so long. Let me just calm down and see. I might be wrong. I might not be apostate. I might have gone on an apostate website and got tricked. But that's when I started remembering everything from my life. And that I actually did the research because I wanted to. Like, I wasn't trying to prove the witnesses was wrong. I was looking for something. So we go to the internet and find it. Okay, cool. So now, I'm still disfellowship because I never got reinstated. My kids are getting older, and I don't know what to do. And now we separated. So in a couple weeks, we'll have this conversation again. You know what happened in a couple weeks, Vennie? Hurricane Katrina.
Wow.
You know where I was, Vennie? walking around trying to see if I could make sure my family was okay, because my mama told me they wasn't leaving. They were going to stay. And I couldn't imagine leaving my family to fend for themselves in something like that. What kind of asshole would leave their family to fend for themselves in something like that?
Right.
And found out that them assholes had left me down there to fend for myself in that shit.
That's deep as hell. Or deeper than the ideal of hell. That is, that situation, period, was just horribly traumatic. You've left me speechless again to be in the middle of that.
I thought that this was my personal judgment from God. I thought this Armageddon. I thought that the witnesses had received instructions in my absence that told them what to do in case of Armageddon. And you leave anybody who's not a witness behind. I saw people dying. I saw dead bodies I had to cross. I had to do shit to survive that nobody should have to do. I, for the second time in my life, had to forget everything about the hall and my daddy and focus on I need to eat.
Damn.
I need to not get shot. I need to eat again. I need to not pass out. Why the fuck did my family leave me down here? Nope, I ain't got time to focus on that. I gotta eat. Oh, it's martial law now. Now I gotta watch out for the army. Now I gotta watch out for crackheads, because these crackheads ain't had a crack in a goddamn week.
Damn, dude, damn.
Now I gotta deal with animals who ain't had food in a week. I gotta deal with this shit and still know that the reason I chose to stay was because I could not imagine leaving my family behind.
Even though you were disfellowshipped,
That's
horrific.
At the Kingdom Hall.
Wow.
And who was it that told me they were staying? It was her.
Right.
It wasn't my stepbrother. It wasn't my stepdaddy. It was the same woman who told me, do everything the witnesses ain't your mama say. And you'll see your daddy again. No, Karama, we not leaving. We not going to go nowhere. And I made up in my mind. I saw them again. I would beat the holy hell out of everybody in my family. I was like, nah, y'all done earned the ass whooping of eons. Like, this is Armageddon. Y'all left. I couldn't rationalize it either way. Like, okay, either this is Armageddon or I've already died and I'm a disembodied spirit. What's really crazy? The witnesses don't even believe in that shit. So I'm going, oh shit, I've seen in movies. I'm out of my goddamn mind.
Yeah, you're dissociated.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
This is the stuff of nightmares. They warn, if you growing up in New Orleans, you were always warned and prepped for the big one. This was the goddamn big one. And y'all left me down here for what? Because of an affair I had 4 years ago that I told y'all about? Oh no, because they say I got to come back and repent to them. Now that I done found out y'all in a burning house, you want to get mad because I got the fire extinguisher and y'all don't. And you just showed me how you felt about me by not even checking to see where I was.
Oh my God.
They're just gone. I was there for 8 days of hell. The reason I know 8 days is because the day before we got out, dude was walking past us and said, hey, happy Labor Day. I'm like, Labor Day? Labor Day is next month. He's like, dude, how long do you think it's been? I don't know. I ended up hooking up with a friend who was the bartender. And we just survived the shit. Every day we would say, at the end of the day, we would say, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like that. And the next day, we were saying the same shit because we had seen something even crazier. The day when I thought I saw mannequins just spread all over the place. And then the next day, I found out that was dead bodies. The day police kick it in the doors, and there's homeless people who cannot read. I can read. I am such an asset that these people refuse to let me out of this building. I got to keep reading all of this stuff. I read so much stuff for people. The police kick in, come in. I got to play like I'm indigent. Y'all's a boss. Okay, Captain. That dumb shit. Because when it comes down to it, all the time I've been focusing on seeing my daddy again. Vennie, I'm a goddamn survivor.
Yes, you are.
And people don't want to give you credit for it. People don't want to acknowledge it. But think of the shit you've been through.
Yeah.
Like if I ever to condense all that pain, all that rage into a ball or a weapon, and I hit one person with it, it'll kill everybody in their family. And people would always wonder, Karama, were you such an angry person? Dude, I'm not.
You're not. You're passionate.
Yes, that's what it is.
You're making me cry.
Don't cry. Well, you can cry if you want to.
I'm a crier. I mean, the traumas after, and this is what people don't understand. It's like, it's not just like I grew up in this traumatic childhood. No, you experience trauma after trauma after trauma through life, either by quote unquote chance, Katrina, or because your childhood trauma led you to other traumas. But either way, each one is a new fucking wound.
Yep. So, here is when it all turned around. By day 6 of the aftermath, shit got real. Ain't nothing funny no more. All the ice you've ever had has melted. You're going into places and you're finding restaurants looted, and they still got their refrigeration going. So you think you found some good steaks and food, and you open it and it's mildew and poison. And you got to make a decision. Do you want to die of poison or starvation? This ain't got shit to do with the hall. This is real life shit. So all the stuff we prepared for, all the talking I done did, this is where we are. And my motivation was survive. Is this the first time I ever had to go without food? Nope. This is the first time I've been walking around in the heat? Nope. This is the first time I had to speak to authority to get what I need and move? Nope. And I'm sitting down on the ground trying to figure out what the hell. And somebody turned on the radio, and I heard Jesse Jackson on the radio, who I can't stand. But in this moment, the ground for a champion. I was sitting on the ground. I heard that shit, and in my mind, I'm really wanting to find a reason to say, yeah.
What did he say?
The ground is no place for a champion. New Orleans, you have been knocked down. You can get up. The water's still in the streets. The stink and the funk and the bodies are still there. I'm sitting on the ground, and I jump my ass up. I was like, wait, no. I am a champion. The people around me was like, what's the matter with you, nigga? I'm like, I'm a champion. And they was like, what are you talking about? I was like, y'all didn't hear Jesse Jackson just now? They was like, yeah, but what you talk about, you a champion. I'm like, I'm a slam champion. They're like, what is that, basketball? No. I said, wait, we've been hanging out, eating and surviving and shit. Y'all don't know what I do. They're like, what do you do? Man, I cut loose with the hottest shit that I could think of and just perform for these people. And they were like, holy shit. You've been sitting here quiet the whole time? You could do that? How about when these news cameras come around here, you get your ass in front of the cameras? Never happened. But what did happen is when I ran into the Army and was allowed to use their phone.
Wow.
It's right there. We make the call. I have a list of numbers. The only one that I could think to call is my brother. I call this dude. He answers the phone. Hello? Rob, this Karama. He say, where are you? I'm stuck in New Orleans. I need you to send, before I could finish the statement, he said, call me when you get out. Click.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody standing there was like, are you serious?
Wow.
Okay.
The pain of that. Oh gosh.
Nope, no pain. This is survival mode. I ain't got time to hurt.
Wow.
Oh, but I'm gonna bust his ass if I see him again. That's all I said. I was like, that's, I'm done taking this shit. I ain't got time to process this. Like, okay, so the Army's dude like, well, that was your call? Yeah, man, that was my shot and I took it. So, they leave.
Damn.
Now, I am not going to waste your time telling you detail after detail about how I got out of New Orleans. But here's what I will tell you. I never got on the ground again after that.
Mm.
The ground was no place for a champion, and I maintained my championship status. I got out of New Orleans the next day. Got all the way, we got evacuated to Lavinia, Tennessee. Went from Lavinia, Tennessee to Nashville, Tennessee. Tried to get my family together. That got crazy after a while. Then I ended up getting a Katrina divorce. My kids were safe. My ex took them to Houston, resettled there. My brother and his wife went to Dallas, and my mother and her husband went to Mississippi, where he's from. And of course, whenever my mama talked to me, it was, "Oh, son, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that." Yeah. I wasn't trying to hear shit. Because let's pretend that didn't just happen.
Right.
Let's put Katrina to the side.
Yeah, because we're all okay now.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah, we're good. We got through that, so let's just move on.
So I later, this took years, and I got to tell you this now so I don't leave people mad at my brother. So, my brother, his adventure started Saturday, and he left and went to Dallas with his wife. And I don't want to mistell the details of the story, so here's what I remember him explaining to me. In the next couple of days, they were going to run out of their insurance, so they went to the doctor. And the day that I called him from New Orleans in the aftermath of Katrina, he had just found out he had cancer.
Wow.
Him telling me that later was what took the sting out of that.
Right. Because he was in survival mode too.
Exactly. And it was male breast cancer. He was the rarest case in the world. He escaped Katrina to run into a whole different monster.
Damn.
So I don't want to give you this impression that, of course, for years, if you'd have talked to me, oh yeah, I was going to beat my brother's ass. Now, I did mention my brother's like 6'6", right?
Yes. You said both your brothers were very tall and you were the shrimp.
Yeah, like this what I'm saying it because I sound tough because we on radio, but this isn't going to be some easy mountain to climb. I'm just saying that's how I felt.
So where are you guys now, in the present? Where are you, knowing we have 7 minutes left or where, and you've come through this trauma? Like, where are you now? Like, is your mother still alive?
Not to me.
Okay, so she's still in the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And you and your brother are close, you and Rob.
My brother and I have reconnected, and Rob is doing so well, and so am I. Let me give you the fast forward version and bring you up to this current moment.
I would love to. And whatever you're doing, like I want to know what projects you're working on and all that good jazz.
Okay, so here we go. Katrina happens, get the Katrina divorce, and the person who looked out for me as a Red Cross sponsor was from New York. She and I got close. Then around the time I got divorced, she got divorced. She went back home to New York. She asked me if I wanted to come hang out with her. Okay, cool.
Aww.
I go hang out. Loved it. Went back to Nashville, and I'm like, why the hell am I back here? Called her again, and she's like, yeah, come on back out. Come hang out. Went back to New York. Did not leave for 8 years. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
So lived there in Manhattan for 8 years with her, and at no time did I realize I was going to be there a long time. So it just was one of these, like,
yeah,
I'm still here. I'm not going to, question the gift horse and get kicked out. So I'm enjoying it. Yeah. So she and I started dating, and we went all over the place. So she has her own issues that life deals to everybody,
sure.
And then she starts dating this black dude who was in a cult and don't really know that that's what's the matter with him.
Oh, no.
And she thinks what's the matter with me is Katrina. I'm like, Katrina was a week. I was a witness for almost 30 years.
Right.
So she and I worked through a lot of stuff. My kids growing up. She got kids growing up. We still fighting to stay together. Had a good old time. Finally, we got sick of the cold weather. Decided to move to Miami. Come all the way to Miami. And now, me and my brother have reconnected. And what we are working on now is a way to turn around and say, hey, there's a lot of people in these cults who are suffering.
Yes.
And it would be foolish and remiss of me to pretend I don't have a unique skill set.
Right.
That would help people either wake up or shrink their recruitment pool. Imagine if everybody on your block knew that the witnesses harbored pedophiles.
Right.
How many people you think would open their doors?
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you that these settlements that they keep making because they're being forced to do this, what if I told you that was the contributions you were giving? The people took them little $5 you gave me as a kid and built their empire with it. What if I told you this was really a publishing company and a real estate scam disguised as religion?
Yep.
Harriet Tubman said that she could have freed thousands more if they only knew they were slaves.
Yep.
I'm here to tell you, you might not want me to call you a slave. You call it what you want. I'm going to call it what it is. You've been brainwashed, and it's not your fault. They had me too.
Gosh, you know what just came in my head? Is that line of Malcolm X when he came back from Mecca, and part of it was like realizing, holy shit, I've been tricked.
Yep. Not only have I been tricked, I was tricked enough to help other people fall for the same tricks.
Right.
So my first goal is to wake up my family. Mission accomplished. I rescued Kayla and got my brother. You know what? I can't take credit for my brother waking up. I think what it was is I told him some stuff that he couldn't believe because he was a witness at the time. But then when he saw it on his own, he was able to come back and remember I had told him this. And my brother's story is just, oh my God. Oh,
I'd love to have him on if he ever wanted to come on. What are you guys, I know you have a YouTube channel together. Talk about that and is there a project or something that you guys are working on together or talk? You don't have to reveal that, of course, because I'm a creative too, so I get it.
Yes.
Aside from your, I love to watch your YouTube channel, like you keep it real, and I love people who keep it real, and your videos are really engaging. I'd encourage anybody, not even just Jehovah's Witnesses, but anybody who is trying to understand and get back to their critical thinking to go and watch, So I'll throw that into the description so they have a link to that. But anything else that you want to share with the audience to connect with you, because the people leaving these religions, they need us.
I agree.
They need our support.
Here's something I would suggest to people, and I can use myself as a small example, but I'm just one person. A lot of us, when we come out of a cult, we have life skills that we don't really know are life skills. We are so confused and in such a fog, and not really. We have no self-confidence. We have we're like newborns. We're like really tall newborns.
Yes. That's a funny way to put it, but yeah.
It is. You're trying to stand and you don't know how to stand. Like, you don't know. I don't know the whole song Happy Birthday. Like, is there another verse? Is there a remix? The Pledge of Allegiance. Like, I think I know it, but I'm not sure because I didn't grow up saying it. Little things like that. So if you have a chance, help us out. Because I can be honest with us, I am a multi-talented person. I am not saying that in a braggadocious way.
Right.
What I mean by that is I don't know what to focus on. Because when I was a witness, I had to do everything. If I had a skill, I had to use it to praise God.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I have a bunch of skills, but I know a little about a lot of things. So a lot of times when you meet somebody, if they tell you they were in a cult, please take it easy on them.
Right.
Please, help them in ways that you think you're talking to an adult and they should know this already.
Right.
But not what's
Don't
going on.
shame us.
Yes. And that's really, a lot of times I appreciate it because people will tell me things like, oh my God, you're a great photographer. The honesty in me will say, yes, I appreciate it. And it's not that I'm being cocky. It's like, look, I've been a photographer over 30 years.
Yeah.
I better know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
But I appreciate the encouragement. But when I answer like that, it's because I was taught to be honest as a witness. It has nothing to do with me trying to be a smartass.
Right.
So what I would appreciate is if you come to witness the drama, or anywhere you see my name, you can Google my name. I do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to have the impression that I'm flaky, like, well, he wanted to be a photographer, and now he's a DJ. He wanted to take pictures, and now he's writing. I do all of that.
Because we're multi-talented people, so we have a lot of outlets, and yeah,
you gotta be to survive, man.
You do.
What would have happened when it started raining? I couldn't go take pictures. So now I got to do something else. Now I'm writing poems. Now the voice, the survivor's voice, will always be heard, even when it's not loud enough for somebody outside your head to hear it.
Wow.
And that is what I really, really, really want to urge people. Like, please pay attention. There are cults all around you every day, and a lot of victims who are not in a position to speak. So do your best, do what you can to provide and be that voice for the voiceless, and we will meet you on the way.
Well, I want to just say thank you so much for being on here with me today, and your story is incredible. I really look forward to getting this out there for people to hear, and I hope that everyone will Google Witness the Drama, Google Karama Sadaka's name, and yes, support him and his work. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me, Vennie Kocsis, and remember, get through it, don't stay in it.